Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Bill from EOTPRO, and I am here to talk to you about Murray math lines. There's no doubt that support and resistance is very, very important when trading, and I think that Murray math lines are pretty nice support and resistance areas. And let me tell you how I typically have used this indicator in the past and some of the experiences that I have had. Before that, I think it's important to understand that Murray Math has two real major areas of support and resistance. It has these major Fibonacci type pivot areas, which are addressed in white. Those areas are really, really, really high levels of support and resistance based on previous day calculations. Then there's these minor lines which are colored here in gold. And you can see how, if we just look at the minor lines, how they are pretty good areas of support and resistance. When I was using this indicator, these are the things that I found pretty useful. You can see when the Murray math lines are pretty spread apart that the trading range of the day was pretty good. The market would move and you'd be able to profit. But you can see here on this day how how Murray math lines were very compressed, indicating that the market was kind of choppy and didn't have a very big range at all. So that's one way that people use them, is just by looking at the distance of the Murray math lines, and they are adaptive, and they do change, and they do adapt themselves. Here's today where Murray math lines were pretty far apart, and you can see how they are pretty significant areas of support and resistance. One interesting thing about this indicator is that we can tell the indicator to plot within X amount of ticks. So let's say we only want to see the indicator within 10 ticks of price. Okay, we can hit OK. And you can see here how we're not plotting lines all through this area because price isn't here. We're not plotting lines all through this area because price isn't here. What's the point in looking at it if price isn't there? So it doesn't squish your chart. It doesn't squish your chart down. There are some underlying calculations to Murray math that you can adjust as well. First of them is frame. It's kind of almost like a moving average, but not. It just kind of looks at how many bars Murray math is going to calculate on. So if you want to make it more reactive, a little bit more sensitive, you'll reduce the number in the frame from like 34 to 21. And you can see Murray math is just a little bit more reactive when price goes into chop. You can see here how the Murray math lines are pretty close together. And then as we break out, the lines start to get a little bit wider apart. One interesting property of Murray math lines that I found when I was trading them is that price, if you're in a trade, price typically likes to go. Well, actually, when I was using the frame on 34, let's go back to 34 because this is, I like to have it on 34. It's 34 bars look back more or less. But when I was using Murray math, one interesting thing that I always found was when I would get into the trade, price never really seemed to go beyond 2.5 Murray math lines in your direction. So, if you were going long somewhere here and you were long and you stayed long through this pullback, that's 1 Murray math line, that's 2 Murray math lines, and that's 2.5 Murray math lines. Price always seemed to kind of stop between 2 and 2.5 Murray math lines, and then it would reverse. We always notice that a lot when when we were using these Murray math lines. So what I would do would be, some people, some of our clients like to use Murray math lines and get out at 2 when price would move 2 Murray math lines or 2 lines away. So one line, we'd go through this line and we'd get to this line. That would be not a bad place to exit because it never seemed to want to go more than 2.5. Here's another price move right here, which was 2.5. 1, 2.5. It was always kind of an interesting property. 1, 2.5. 1, 2.5. It kind of always seemed to stick to that. Sometimes, here you can see one anomaly. 1, 2, and 3. But those Murray math lines are a lot closer together. I don't know. I always did remember that about the Murray math lines. It was always really interesting. So this is a popular indicator. It was designed a long time ago. One of the first things that was designed at EOTPRO because people wanted to have support and resistance. I encourage you to use them. Thanks for listening to Murray Math.